Hello and welcome to a very exciting interview, specially curated for the World Music Day. We have someone who has worn too many hats, one of a VJ, composer, actor and much more. I'm very excited to dive into a conversation with Luke Kenny. A very warm welcome and it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Sakshi. I'm glad I could make it through all this Bombay traffic.
Totally, I'm so glad. So, Luke, we've been associated for quite some time now, and there is a little that we've spoken about your professional life, and because we are celebrating the Music Day very soon, we thought why not dive deep into what your experiences have been so far.
Oh, well, it's been a lot of experiences, and you're talking about diving deep. How many days do you have?
Well,
How many weeks do you have? How many months do you have?
Interesting. So, we have a lot to catch up on.
Well, I think it all starts when you're a child, of course, and I have my grandparents and my father to thank for that, for the initial years. My grandfather also was a musician back in the day, and he was a jazz musician, so he played jazz drums and stuff like that. So in his later days, when of course he couldn't play music anymore, and he had to, take care of one little bundle of
Joy.
I don't know about the joy part, but yeah. So he would play his jazz music that he would hear on the radio, and my grandmother happened to be a big Hindi movie fan, so she would take me to all the Hindi films, after school. Friday first day show release types, so black पे भी खरीदते थे ticket हम लोग. And then my father was a child of the 60s, so he grew up with all that, 60s music and stuff like that. So I had on one side I had jazz coming at me, the other side was all the Hindi films that were coming at me, and then my dad was trying to, get me away from listening to that music. He said, you should listen to real rock and roll music and all of that stuff. So I had that coming, and then add to that, in school you're growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and you have all that music coming out as well also. So it was all these multiple influences that that kept me going, kept my mind really always like, who's this? And then all the icons, of course, as we know, you have the Michael Jacksons, the Madonnas, and the RDs, and the Bachchans, and all of that stuff. So it was this complete, must bhelpuri of pop culture and music and film and entertainment that was with me throughout the early years of till I got into college and things like that. And that kind of set an impact in my mind, because academics was not a friend of mine.
Most of us.
For most of I don't know about the rest, I'm talking about myself. So I think at a very young age, I think my शायद 5th standard में था, जब मेरी class teacher ने, it was a boys' school, so anytime they needed to have a female in the play or in the music things, of course.
Outsource. Oh, you.
मैं ही था, एक wig पहना के पट करके मेरे को डाल देते stage पर. So that was my first experience of getting up on stage and being part of music, performance, theatre, ये वो, and it was very exciting to me. And then I saw all this was happening around.
And then the exposure that came through.
So I said, school खत्म होगा तो सबसे पहले तो मैं, the first thing I'm going to do is I have to get to a college in Bombay, because I used to live in Thane for about 23 years, and then I finished my schooling in Thane, and at that point in time Thane nothing was really happening. Now it's a whole different city altogether. Yeah. And at that point in time, and all the theatre, all the entertainment, all the music, everything was in
Juhu Andheri.
Was on the western side of things. So I said, कॉलेज भी जाना होगा तो मुझे वेस्टर्न साइड में जाना होगा, क्योंकि वहाँ पर सब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है एंड वहाँ पर नेटवर्किंग है, वहाँ पर देन नेटवर्किंग वाज नॉट अ वर्ड. तो I finished school, I got into college, and I entered every single extracurricular activity that was happening, whether it was elocution competition, theatre, music, dance, everything.
And which college was that?
Elphinstone College.
Oh.
It's the second oldest college in Bombay. And it's a legendary college, as we know. A lot of great people have passed out of that college, me notwithstanding. I didn't pass out, but anyway, that's a different story. So while I was in college, I entered every single college level competition, जो भी होता था, whether it was theatre or music or everything. And then little by little I met people, and then I got opportunities, and then that's been a part. So while I was doing one of the dance competitions, one of the judges happened to be a very known choreographer who asked me to join his group. And I joined his group. Then one of his friends was opening up a little pub in Juhu, and he wanted somebody who can come and play music. And then I put my hand up, so I became a DJ. Then while I was DJing for a particular event, that time music channels had launched, Channel V had launched, and they were looking for somebody who
That's
who
back
could,
then when you're talking
yeah,
about
this is
launching,
really
it's
long time ago.
really
Yeah, it's
far.
almost 25, 30 years ago now. Yeah, 28 years ago. So this was that era. So I've always been lucky to have opportunities where I could be contributive to the entertainment creative process, whether it's through acting, singing, dancing, writing, jo bhi ho. And whatever opportunity has come my way, I've taken it because that's all I have.
You've taken up so many different roles. You were composing, acting, obviously, directing. What is the best part and your most favorite journey of them all?
Well, for a short while, the music television journey was really, really nice, because at that point in time it was something different. It had never happened. Satellite television had come into the country, and for the first time, we as Indians realized that अरे यार TV बंद नहीं होती है, 24 घंटे चलती है. Because we were used to a different era of television, which was Doordarshan, which probably very few people remember today, with just 2 channels, and 11 बजे से बंद हो जाता था. And then in comes satellite television, and it's 24 hours of non-stop entertainment across the board, sports ho, general entertainment ho, and music channels. So all the music that that generation had grown up just hearing,
and broke the ice.
Now they could see.
Yeah.
Now they could see. Oh, this is the video. Oh, this is what this artist looks like. And you had the people who were introducing that music was the VJ. So all the VJs who were there at that point in time suddenly became the new superstars of the country, because they were like the custodians of pop culture. They were like, people who you needed to follow. They were like the original influencers, so to speak, before even social media came into the picture. So, so if a particular VJ dressed a particular way, everybody followed. If a particular VJ talked about a certain kind of genre of music, everybody listened.
Influential.
So VJs were the original influencers of that generation. And so that era was really nice to be a part of, because then you actually were in. So whenever we traveled, whenever I was taken to all the PR, all the marketing, all the events that would happen across the country, you'd see all these, that generation who are the same age as you. So it's not like you're of a certain age and you're looking down,
looking at them,
looking at kids. You were them, and they were also a reflection of you. So that era of just being in part of that mindset, that kind of zeitgeist, so to speak, was probably the most interesting.
And you connected.
And yes, and I connected as well also. And because, I was them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what they felt, because I was feeling the same thing.
Just doing it differently, your way.
It was just that I was in a different position, in the sense that I probably knew what I knew. I had the knowledge that I had, and to a certain extent still do, because I was, curious.
And then you got the opportunities because of your skill set.
Absolutely.
So you being a musician, which musical band do you look up to? The albums that you listen to on a daily basis. Something that is peppy when you wake up in the morning, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get this done."
It's a very long list. That's a very long list.
You'll have top 1, 2.
But I'll tell you how it goes for me. See, there is music that is passed on to you from your grandparents or your parents, and say, "Arey, हमारे ज़माने के गाने तो ऐसे होते थे, ये सुनो बेटा, ये सुनो."
Retro wale.
All of that stuff. So, and then there is the music that you discover at a certain age. The music that you discover when you're a teenager is different from the music you'll discover when you turn 25. And every decade, the music changes. Every 5 or 7 years, the genres change, the music changes, culture changes. Now it's changing every year. But,
yeah, it is.
But from till social media came in, let's say, till 2007, 2008, we had, there was a 5-year, 6-year time when a particular trend would come, get popular, then die out, then a new trend would come in, so on and so forth. So there were different kinds of music that I was exposed to at different point in time in my life. If you were to talk about what was handed down to me, as in from my parents and my dad, my grandparents, well, from my dad particularly, I got my love for the Beatles. So now, after listening to the Beatles, let's say for the past 30 years, 40 years or whatever, I realized that, they were truly, they did what they did. So for me, as a songwriter or as a musician, they probably will be like the number one for me, because they managed to stand the test of time through their songwriting, through their music, and through the way they did things.
And they didn't die down.
And they haven't died down yet. They're still referenced, because artists still take from them, because they did what they did in the way they did it. Then came the time when I was in college and I was in school passing out, and the artist that you discover on your own, which of course at that point in time was Michael Jackson. So he was like the biggest artist in the planet, still remains one of the biggest artists in the planet, one of the best selling artists of all time and all of that stuff. So that was like a huge, and
legendary,
then watching, and then first time you see those videos and say, "What? This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be as a musician. This is who I want to be as a performer. I want to go up on stage and do the same thing that Michael does. Get people to, be a part of whatever it is you're enjoying doing yourself on stage." So that is another influence from there. So, and like that, there are of course many, and everything that is connected. Michael himself was influenced by the Beatles. Beatles were a great inspiration for him when he was a songwriter, which is why later on when he started composing music, when he became famous and he could afford it, he reached out to Paul McCartney and he wrote songs with him. So these are the kind of artists. And then back home, then you go and watch Hindi films and you hear the songs, and then the songs that have an influence on you. So then throughout the 80s, and it was, it was the what was left of R.D. Burman we got to hear, and in the 90s it was A.R. Rahman, and then so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So it's all of these kind of things mix that kept on playing in my head, and it continues to. I continue to fall back on that. Like all the music that you hear today, you can easily find traces, stems, streams of everything that has come before.
So, you had made a statement right now saying I looked up to Michael Jackson. So when you are on stage, when Luke Kenny's on stage, what is the best feeling that you've ever experienced, and the response of the crowd? What keeps you going?
Always the energy of the audience, and as a performer you can tell when an audience, how are they responding to whatever it is you're doing on stage. Whether it's the kind of music that you're performing, the songs that you're choosing to be part of your set list, or how you're interacting with the audience. What is it that you're saying to them? What is it they're saying back to you? And how are you reacting to that? And how are they reacting to your reaction? So it's always, a great symbiotic give and take, because you, at the end of the day, want to be able to give them the same experience that you would like to have as an audience. If I go to watch an artist that I really like, I want to have that kind of experience which is like most unique. So when I'm up on stage in front of an audience, it's my job and my responsibility to be able to give them that singular and unique experience.
Live up to the expectations that they say.
Exactly.
We're talking work with AI now. So like we know music as an industry.
AI debates. Boliye.
So music with AI, we've seen that a lot of composers, musicians now, they are somewhere dependent on AI. They are using different soundtracks, voice modulation. What do you think about that?
Now we've seen how everything has evolved over the past 30-40 years, and there is enough research to go back to even look at what happened before our time as well also, right? Okay. So let's say if you take 100 years of music, 1920s से लेके 2020s तक, ठीक है, जो भी music में changes आए, जो भी हो गए, what has been the game changer every time, every few years, again I'm talking about, what has been the game changer?
Which is the
technology. That has always been the game changer, and every time there's been a technological game change for a particular element of, let's say, entertainment, right? Everybody suddenly starts panicking. It's what happened when television came in. अरे अभी तो टीवी आ गया है, अब बाहर कौन आएगा पिक्चर देखने को, थिएटर में कौन आएगा पिक्चर देखने को? But it didn't happen, right? Then TV आया, TV became a mainstay. Then came video cassettes, then came DVDs, then came VCDs and all of that stuff. अरे now all videos are available at home. सब घर पे जाके पिक्चर देखेंगे, फिर से कोई थिएटर नहीं आएगा पिक्चर देखने को. ऐसा हुआ? नहीं हुआ. It passed. So like, technology is always a game changer. Same thing with when streaming came in. When music went from physical media to digital media, to MP3s or FLAC or whatever it may be. It became fragmented. It was always a function of technology. But every industry has absorbed technology at any point in time, every time, to make it work for them. Now the debates that you're hearing about AI is all just testing phase.
That will pass.
Of course, it has to pass.
It will.
Because, it has to pass. Because, AI, what is AI? Internet is AI. Google is AI. Anything that the minute you put in a search, you've already put in the data for AI. You've been doing it for the past 20 years now. Facebook is AI. It's gathering
It
data.
existed, just
It's
that we
gathering
didn't give
data.
it that much importance.
Yeah, it's gathering data and using that data to create new data, which might or might not be true.
Regenerate?
To regenerate. So yes, but at the end of the day, everybody's going to figure out how to make AI work for you, work for themselves. Which is why you've got ChatGPT, which is an open AI. They're not saying we're custodial, like you only have to do what we say that you have to do. It's allowing you. It's allowing you. So now it's the playground time. Once they see how the population at large is taking to it, is using it, it'll become more creatively applicable. It'll become more technologically applicable. It'll do wonders for law enforcement. It'll do wonders for intelligence gathering when it comes to safety and security of data and of your own personal safety and security as well also.
So we've spoken about AI, and now I would like to come back to Luke Kenny. So tell us about what your plans are. You have a bucket list. What's next for you?
I don't have a bucket, so I don't know about the list part. But but fortunately, I've been lucky to have a lot of projects on hand for the past couple of years. Just last month itself, I had a new web series drop called Fireflies, Parth or Jugnu. And this year I've got a couple of films coming out as well also. One is The Archies and one is Merry Christmas as well. And and now that post-monsoons, the season should pick up, so a lot more gigs I'm hoping on hand as well. And I've been involved with, finally deciding to put my music together. So, hopefully I'll start recording some of those songs in the months to come, and let's see how things go.
So we've covered more or less, a few aspects of your life.
Yeah.
So what is it that you'd want to part ways with the audience? The last thing that you'd want to say to everybody and anybody listening or watching our video today?
Oh, well, first up, I'd like to, thank you as well also for, having me here and allowing me to ramble on to such an extent. I'm just happy and fortunate to be where I am, and of course, as they say, there's lots more to be done and to come. So I have faith that I will be able to do more of that. To people watching, just keep track of everything it is that I do, and I really do hope to have your support and your appreciation and your kindness at every step of the way. So that I may continue to be relevant and relative to pop culture in the larger scheme of things. I'd also like to thank Team Marksman for having me here today. They're doing fantastic jobs, and in the industry that they're in, it's a very challenging industry. And like the name suggests, they're all very good marksmen and markswomen as well. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Luke.
You're welcome.